Empower Series. I want to welcome you to the Empower Series YouTube Live podcast. Welcome to all of my listeners and viewers in the United States and around the world. I just like the way that sounds, right?
Yeah.
Well, again, I always want to start with appreciation. So I want to thank you for your generous contributions, your donations of time, and your talents. Because if it wasn't for you giving of your resources, we wouldn't be able to put on the quality programs that we put on. So I want to thank you. I also want to thank our sponsor, Comerica Bank, and AE Media Group for making us look so good in everything we do with our flyers and on this YouTube and with all of our videography and photos. Also, this afternoon, we had a lunch and learn with the wonderful speaker, Tarsha Polk, who talked about accessing capital for women business owners. That was a great lunch and learn. The food was good, the knowledge was good. Now all that's left for you to take those ideas and put them into action. Tomorrow we're going to have a workshop at the Highland Hills Library at 10:30. Go to our website at www.empowerseries.com. Click on the RSVP button. You can see all of our programs for the month of February, as well as the program for tomorrow. Register, show up, post it on social media, be there or be square. And also, if you want to donate and give to the Empower Series, you can click the donate button, or you can text give or donate to 214-225-6337. Today, I am blessed to have a conversation with a trailblazing woman business owner. This month, all of our speakers were women. So Miss Linda Mitchell is the CEO and president of Black & Clark Funeral Homes. She's done so much more before that, though. We were just talking about an organization that her and her husband started that was really about motivating the Black community and putting out the inspirational experiences, not just for youth, but for the community at large. And we'll talk more about that. But we're going to talk to Linda today about not only her wisdom and her business acumen and all the things that we need to apply today to be successful in our lives, in our personal lives, in our business, but we're going to talk about just life in general. Okay, because we can learn a lot from Linda. Now, Linda would have never thought she would be a renowned business owner in the funeral home industry, right?
Right.
Right. But I want everybody to welcome Linda. Linda, you do a much better job of telling me about your history and your story than I can. Okay. So I want to thank you, and I want to thank Shane Hefner for connecting us as well. So welcome.
Well, thank you for having me. You know, I didn't know what to expect. Now I said, okay, what am I going to talk about? And so I thank you for the opportunity, you know, to be able to, get my story out. And the story is of Black & Clark Funeral Home and the funeral industry and the market and how we can save it. That's, what I'm really working towards. Things are changing, businesses are changing every way. The way that we used to do business, we know we can't do it anymore. And I'm a history buff. And I'm extremely proud of our history, and I feel that as a race of people, sometimes we forget all of our accomplishment, and I feel like we're one of the strongest races out here. But because we don't know that, then sometimes we ignore the facts of who we are, and we buy into the myth that we're not a strong race of people.
Yeah, and your pre-graduate work was in African-American Studies.
Yeah, Sociology and African-American Studies. Okay. So, and part of that is interesting. I tell people, and I don't mean to offend anyone, but I'm a baby boomer, so I'll be 69 years old. In this year.
Don't crack. You don't even wrinkle.
So yes, so I came up during the Jim Crow era. And it made an impact on me, and that impact didn't come about until I was one of the ones who helped integrate University of South Florida back in 1969. There were 50 of us, and I tell people when I went into started at that university, I was not prejudiced. But by the time I ended or graduated from that school, I was prejudiced because I came up against so much hatred. And I didn't understand it because my family had shielded us. I had teachers who inspired us and told us how we had to be better. And I think that's what children are missing today because we had the experience of the home, and then from the home you had the teachers who were like parents to you. Right. So every day in every classroom we had teachers saying, in order for you to make it in this world, you're going to have to be 10 times better. Okay, and if you're sitting next to a white person, know you better than them because they wouldn't have you there if you weren't. That was what I was taught. So when I started at the University of South Florida, what was interesting was that they were forced to let us in. that they were counting the janitors and maids as students in order for them to continue to receive their funds. Then they had to open up and let us in. So we were 50 young kids. I'm talking about 17 and 18 years old, venturing out into this huge university, didn't know what to expect, and I got hit with everything you can expect. I mean, it was just unbelievable. I remember calling home and crying to my mother, telling her I didn't think I could make it. And she told me if I thought I wanted to quit that I could come home, but she felt that I could. And I stayed. I mean, for 1 year, I cried every day because I just didn't understand why these people hated me. What had I done to them to make them not like me? And even to have the experience of sitting in the classroom when you're the only person, and the teacher asks you, do you know the history of the lynching of black folks? Wallace was running for president, and I was told that he would win and put us in our place.
So what was it that made you get through all of that? What was it, the strength? Because I know your mother kind of told you she thinks you can do it.
Determination. After something within me, and I guess I've always had it. You know, when somebody tell you you can't do something, then that strength within it rises up in you. And I just thought, okay, my mom said I can do it, so I'm going to stay here, and I did it. And I did. I graduated, but it was hard.
Yeah.
But after I left there, it made me have an appreciation of my culture, who I am as a person, and us as a race of people. So my mind was always set that I decided, you know, if I'm going to do something, I wanted to make sure that I could make a difference. But as a child, I always knew I was fascinated with death. It's kind of crazy, but I knew I wanted to do something in death, but my mother said no.
What age were you at that time?
I was in the 10th grade.
Wow. Wow.
and I was fascinated by death. And
was it just human beings or any death, like animals?
Death, period. I was curious about life. Why are we here?
Right.
And why are we here and then just die? So what's the whole purpose of being here? And
Gotcha,
you know, the whole body. I worked at Patterson and Coleman Laboratory as a pathology lab, and I'm jumping, but the doctor there took me with him to do an autopsy, and I just liked seeing what the body looked like. I know this sounds
So let's back up a little bit. Let's back up a little bit. So did you ever do biology in high school?
Yes.
And did you dissect
the frogs
and everything like that? And that was that didn't gross you out?
No, it didn't freak me out.
Or little pigs and stuff?
No.
Oh, wow, okay.
You know, by the time I finished high school, I told Mom I wanted to go to mortuary. She said, no, you can't. You can go to college, but not mortuary school, because she thought all morticians were alcoholics.
So wait a second. So we're thinking you never thought that you'd be in this business, but you had this you had this interest in life.
10th grade.
That's crazy, yeah.
And I wanted to own a funeral home in the 10th grade. Now,
wow.
It took me 30-some, 40 years full circle to get me here and all that, but that university, too, is what kind of put this pride in me about my people. Just wanting to make a difference and wanted to make sure that if in touching somebody's life, that I can encourage them.
Yeah.
And to also look at life itself. You know, we're only here for a short period of time, and it depends on us as to what we do with our time. But my life journey is almost like, okay, God put it in my heart to do this, and he took me through all these different channels to get me here. And it was so interesting when I look at my husband, who was extremely positive and motivating, and he would drag me around, and I say literally drag you around to these positive motivational rallies, and we would be the only one, or you see 5 or 10 other couples or black folks in there, and my girlfriend would go with. I said, why is he having us sitting up in here? And, you know, we're listening to Zig Ziglar, and I can remember all the different people, and that was something that he wanted to do, was be an encouragement. He was like one of the first black sales manager with Xerox. So we moved here from Florida with Xerox. They brought us here. And a year and a half after we were here, he had a massive heart attack and died.
Wow, how old was he?
He was 33 and I was 27.
That is
in
crazy.
In a city that I didn't know anybody. So here I am, and what's interesting about that was we were talking, we used to talk a lot, and I used to tell him, I said, I feel like you bringing me to this city and dropping me off, that you're going to leave me here.
You told him that before he had a heart attack.
I just felt like it was something strange. And he goes, oh no, and even before his death, and he told me, he said, I know I'm going to die young. He did.
Wow.
He died at 33. And after his death, it was such a shock because he had a massive heart attack and then he died. And we were only married about 20 months before then. So because of that, I went through a lot as far as the grief process and that. But in that process, didn't know what I wanted to do. And I met another friend and he encouraged me. He said, I think you would do well in the funeral business, selling funeral and burial insurance. And I thought, I do not want to sell insurance.
So let's pause for a second. So back up. First off, you moved here with your husband, recently married for less than 2 years. You were talking about a business that you guys started. It was called the
Black Achievement Inc.
Black Achievement Inc. And it was his passion, right? Motivational seminars, doing things to really give youth a positive image in the community at large. And it wasn't too long after he started that he passed away, right?
Yes, he did. And on his deathbed, he asked me to go through with the rally. He said, if you don't do anything else, would you promise me that you would do the rally? And I said, yes. And I did. It was hard, but we did it. It was at the Fort Worth Convention Center where it was held. We had a pretty good turnout, but not what we were anticipating. We had investors, but I returned all of them their money because I didn't want to take the risk of losing their money, and I felt like I could afford to do this myself, and I did.
So let's stop for a second. So first off, you're here, newlywed couple. Your husband was a successful salesperson, so he came here with a job. Where were you working at the time before you stopped to do this business that he started?
I was working with Allstate as an underwriter.
As an underwriter, so you both had jobs, and then you left your job to run this business.
To work with him.
Work with him.
30 days after.
And in 30 days, he passed away,
died.
Unfortunately. So my deepest condolences on that.
That's
and
been
then
40 years ago.
But here's the deal. Here's the deal. I have an uncle and aunt. They've been married for 60 years, and my uncle just passed away last year. And so they've been married for 60 years.
Yeah.
It's a long time. But to your point, we don't know when we're going to check out.
Right.
At one point, we're going to not wake up tomorrow.
Right.
So whether that's when we're young, old, we don't know how much time we have. But we got to be very intentful about the time that we have here.
Exactly.
So you started this business, motivating people. You followed through on the commitment that you gave your husband, right, to do this rally.
Yes.
But then you weren't really filling that business. So you gave the money back to the investors, and then what did you do?
Grieved.
Okay.
I went through that grieving process and became suicidal.
Wow.
And attempted suicide. So I shouldn't be sitting here. You know, I'm real transparent, and I tell people my story and the truth because I need to let them hear. You know, I understand what people go through, and because of that, and once I made it out of that process of that grief, which took a long time, I was approached with selling the funeral and burial insurance, and I'm thinking, okay, I don't have anything. I looked for a job, nobody would hire me. I probably looked too pitiful.
And you were still depressed at that time?
I was still depressed, lost a lot of weight, did all that. And so this person said, I think you would do well at this. And I'm saying, selling funeral and burial insurance? I want to sell funeral and burial
Like, really? Come on.
Come on.
Like, God, really?
Yeah, but you know, it was something to do. And I said, okay. He said, well, if you can pass the test, we'll see. So I passed the test. Then they gave me a rate book. And I thought, okay, God, this is what you put in my hand. Let me make it work.
Right.
And I'm that type of person, so I knew nothing. I got a rate book, and I started in Bonton, going door to door, selling funeral and burial insurance.
Wow.
That's what I did. And it was with Golden State Mutual Life Insurance Company. It was the third largest black insurance company in the country. They no longer in business anymore, but that's where I started. And it shocked everyone because no one thought that I could do it and that I would become successful, so I set a goal. I'm a goal-oriented person, and my goal was to make one sale a day. Well, if you're in insurance sales, you know that's hard, but I didn't know it. So when you don't know anything, so I didn't know it. And my commitment was, well, I won't come home until I sell
you get it done.
something.
That's Zig Ziglar, right?
You know, yeah, and I did. Every day I started at 3 o'clock. I went to Bonton, I parked my car, and I went door to door. And before I started, my thoughts were, what is it that most people won't do? And why aren't they successful in this? And what I realized is that most people won't canvas. Most people won't go talk to folks. And I said, okay, I can do that. I can park my car, and I knew nothing. All I did was knock on the door and say, my name is Linda Mitchell. I work with Golden State. Can I talk to you about insurance? And I did it, and I did it every day. And what happened, I ended up selling the first week, 1 a day, the next time 2 or 3 a day. And before I knew it, at the end of the year, I qualified for the Leadership Roundtable. Didn't know what I was doing, made so much money, it shocked me because, you know, money, sales is where money is.
Yeah.
And I thought, well, okay, I'm not going to look for a job. What I'll do now is just do this. And after doing that for about 1 year and 2 years, a girlfriend who worked for Xerox was on my husband's team. She said, Linda, you need to multiply yourself. And I said, okay, what do you mean? She said, maybe you need to recruit some agents and put them out. So I did that. I was licensed with one Homesteaders, which is one of your larger pre-need company. I need to back up because I started out with Cedar Crest Funeral Home and Walter Wilson and Lorraine Wilson. It's been so interesting. These people helped me. Mr. Wilson, he was from Florida as well and was a schoolmate of my mother, and he owned Cedar Crest Funeral Home. I had met him before my husband died, but after his death, I went back and I told him I was in this business, and he told me no at first, that he didn't need anybody to sell. But then it was like 3 months later, he called me. He said, you want to sell insurance for me, pre-need and funeral and burial? I said, yeah. Well, Mr. Wilson turned the upstairs office into my own office. He just set me up.
So one of the things we need to know then is that a funeral home is a separate business than pre-selling prearranged funeral insurance policies, right? Now, are there some funeral homes that have them both under the same umbrella? Like
yes, and that's what I started doing. With Cedar Crest, with Mr. Wilson, he allowed me to sell funeral and burial insurance for his funeral home.
Okay.
And then his wife, Lorraine, she was the one who directed me into prearranged. She said, if you're going to be in this business, you need to look at doing prearranged funerals. And that's the future of this industry, that people can lock in their funeral. Well, everybody told me black folks not going to buy prearranged funeral. Everything that I've done, I've been told
you're not going to do, right?
We wouldn't do. Well, that wasn't true. But again, you know, because I'm persistent and determined, you know, I started selling and did extremely well and was able to recruit counselors to represent me. And then I thought, well, okay, I need to sign up other funeral homes. And I was told, and I went to Black & Clark, and I was told Mr. Clark would not allow anybody in his funeral home because it's one of your top funeral homes. They were family and conservative, and they were real protected about their business and who represent them. He said yes, and gave me space.
Because you had this skill set, right, of knocking on every door until you get one sale, right?
I could get it. And Mr. Clark let me in, and he gave me the space that I'm using right now in the back. And I started I had both Cedar Crest, and then I had Black & Clark that I was representing. And then Miss Eileen Beckwith came along, and she called me, and that's at Golden Gate, and she said, Linda, I want you to meet some people. And these were the representative of Homesteaders. She said, I want you to take a contract with them because I want you to sell pre-needs for us. So I met with them, and I got a contract with Homesteaders, and so I represented Golden Gate, I represented Black & Clark, I represented Evergreen, Cedar Crest, and I represented Thrash, and although McGowan, these funeral homes are no longer in existence.
Yeah.
And I was able to place counselors in those funeral homes, and with those counselors, they were able to sell prearranged funerals for the funeral homes. So with Homesteaders alone, I have about $70 million worth of pre-need business on the books representing black funeral homes throughout the state of Texas.
Well, that's not a slight, that's an accomplishment, so congratulations. And what I was listening to in your story is you've had this determination and entrepreneurial spirit for such a long time. And it probably started with you being told as a young student that you can't do something, or that you got to be very good to be on the same par with other people who are of equal ability than yours. So you're not just being average, you're well above average.
Well, here's the kicker, I'm dyslexic.
Oh my gosh. No excuse, right? No excuse.
So as coming up, everybody, you know, they said I was educationally mentally retarded because they didn't know dyslexia. Either you was dumb or smart during that time. And I heard a conversation, my mother and my grandmother and my father, they were all sitting around the table. I have a brother and a sister. And they were saying, what are we going to do about Linda? Who's going to take care of Linda? Because Linda's having this learning problem.
Wow.
And my grandfather called me mommy. And he said, mommy will be, and I heard them talking. And he said, mommy will be the one who surprised us. And because I heard that, my grandfather said that, I was determined to make my grandfather proud. Because all during that time it was a put down, and I struggled. I struggled through elementary, junior high, high school, and then I got a scholarship to go to college. Can you believe it?
Yeah, is that amazing?
So, and I graduated, and everybody, well, how's she doing?
Yeah, it's surprising everybody, right?
So, but you know, I also have a strong faith and belief in God. So, to graduate from college was an accomplishment. And then, so I've been told all my life what I couldn't do, but as I've stated, it's been something within me said, you don't know what you're talking about. I'm determined. I can get this done. And that's what I've always done. I've just said, okay, in spite of what you're saying, I know what I can do.
So in addition to you just being an example, and I appreciate you not only coming here, but sharing your story and being transparent with your battle with grieving, depression, suicide, and all of that. So thank you, because that really lets people know that they're not alone. And they see you right now, and you're very successful. Your funeral home has been in business for 106 years. You know, you decided to, when Mr. Clark passed away, you took out a loan and you bought the majority ownership of it. And you got this vision of what you want for this funeral home, but not just for your funeral home, but for all Black-owned funeral homes, right? So you got this vision that's even bigger than where we are today. But people look at you and they say, oh, this woman's got it. You know, it's been easy for you. But they didn't know your husband passed away when he was so young, when you were here in a city that you didn't even know about. And so I just appreciate you being transparent, because that right there is giving people hope. It's inspiring people, and that's what we're all about. So thank you for sharing that. And I want you to just kind of think back right now, with everything that you've gone through as a successful woman business owner. What advice would you give young ladies now? Because unfortunately, I wasn't at the luncheon, but the luncheon had a lot of women there, because again, we talked about accessing capital for Black women business owners. And well, I said Black women, but it was women business. And so you had to raise capital to buy the majority share of Black and Clark.
That's a story too.
Yeah, so with what you went through, you know, we had a lot of young ladies there, majority of them were African American, but what's your advice to them as they're going through their struggle today?
You have to know what you want, and then you have to believe that you can accomplish it. In my purchasing Black and Clark, and I think God, has a sense of humor. And I say this, I have a strong belief and faith in God. That's the first thing, too.
Right,
You know?
gotta
Okay,
have that.
I just believe in God, and I believe with God all things are possible. And so that's the base of who I am. So I don't care what you put in front of me. Okay, God, I can't do it, but God can.
But we can handle it. Whoever you're in partnership with.
God can.
Yeah.
And I got sense enough to get out of God's way and let him work through me.
Right.
And when the funeral home went up for sale, it is another story. I was at my worst. My business, my insurance, the pre-need business was not doing as well. I was going through a transition as far as counselors leaving and all. But I knew I was watching Oprah Winfrey because I love Oprah. And on that day I was watching, she had the two young brothers who had been sleeping in a car, and they became gold medal Olympic. They were in the Olympics and won a gold medal or something. But at the end of it, Oprah said, "Go to your destiny." And she did a fist like this, and it was like something hit me in my chest. And I said, okay, Linda, you've been talking the talk, now it's time to walk the walk. And I was in dealing with the funeral home, because it was Mr. Clark had died, and they had placed an administrator over the state, and they decided they wanted to sell it. And I'm thinking, okay, I went to the administrator, I went to the attorney, I went to the Mrs. Clark, and I said, I want to buy the funeral home. And they said, okay. And I said, I have no money.
Yeah, straight up.
I said, this is a God deal.
Right,
And the accountant said, well, you need to go get $1.5 million. I said, okay, like it was nothing. And I left and I went back to my office and I was sitting there. I said, okay, God, I need $1.5 million and I don't know where to get it from, so you're gonna have to do this for me. 3 days later, I received a phone call from someone said, would you like to buy that funeral home? I said, yeah. Say, well, I know some people who fund this, so let me give you their information. I got the information, I called them. They sent me the package, the applications and all the financial, and a very good friend of mine, her name Emma Lyons, we sat down and completed the application. I say, tell the truth. We're not gonna try to fudge on the numbers, let them know. See, I had I owed taxes. I said, put it down that I owe the taxes. I made the least amount of money I'd ever made in my life, put it down.
Right.
We're gonna put all this because I want them to see who I am. But my spirit said, write a letter and send it with some pictures of the facility. So I wrote this letter and sent the application in. It was less than a week, I received a phone call back and the people say, we got your application and we want you to come to Missouri, will you come? And I said, yes, are you sending for me? They say, no, you have to pay yourself to come. And I did, I went, sat in this huge conference room with all these people around the table and they questioned me and all, and at the end of the meeting, I had to step out. They came back, I think about 30 or 40 minutes, they said, we decided to lend you the money.
What?
Can you believe this?
I'm telling you. Oh my God.
$1.5 million
Yeah.
they loaned me. And that was the beginning of me purchasing Black & Clark. And when I purchased it, I looked at the people who were been there for years and I thought, okay, God, in order for me to make this work out, what I'll do is give a percentage of the business to the other people. So there were 3 other funeral directors that worked there, and I said, okay, I'll give you so many percentage, and we do this together, and wanted to keep them involved in the business as well.
Are the 3 still involved to this day?
Yes, they were 2 of them are retired, and 1 is still there.
Okay.
Still working with me.
So I got to say something. So first off, there might be some people listening who applied, got turned down, and thinking, "Oh, you just applied once, you got this, so it's easy, it's easy."
It's not easy.
No. Because what we do know, I can attest to this, you can attest to this, Edward can attest to this, and any business owner can attest that it goes up and down.
Exactly.
Right?
Exactly.
So you may have got the loan, you may have been generous and said, come on, directors, we want to put this as a team. You're not employees, you're part owners, right? Tell me about a time tell me about a hardship you went through and you had to go, and what you learned from it and how you got through it.
Again, and see, God, I cannot say enough about God, a personal relationship with God. I was talking to my godson. I mentor a lot of kids, young men and all, and he's going through a difficult time. They company purchased another company, and what they do is they keep you there long enough until they get their people in place. So he was phased out, and he had gone through a lot, and he was crying. I said, listen, and he's a minister. I said, okay, this is what I've learned in my 69 years being on this earth. Put God first, okay? Yeah. And when I say that, I'm saying you have to have faith in God. And what that means is that it's not me doing it. I do my part, but I trust that God will put in my path everything that I need to help me get to where I want. It's my belief that God provides us with our heart desires, not what's up in our head, but what's in our heart. And if God put it in your heart, then he will make a way for you to achieve it. So everything that I do, I trust God. My friends tell me, and I've been doing this a while, I do faith checks. He said, you got to step out in faith. So I trust that. You told me your promise. I'm holding you to your promise. So I believe that you will provide for me. So at my stressful point, I take a deep breath, I meditate, and I say, okay, Father, I'm doing the best I can. Show me. And God will reveal it to you. Now, I don't know what everybody's relationships, sometimes we have mouth service. and it's
Yeah.
not in our heart. But what I've learned in my 69 years, if you truly believe God will provide, and the way I look at it is that He has more than me. You know, there's no limit. You know, God will give you a Pinto or He'll give you a Cadillac. It's what you want.
And you still stretching
And
yourself,
I
it sounds
still,
like, right?
yeah.
Okay, so I'm going to talk about a future stretch, but let's go back to the past now. I still want you to
Okay.
I want you to give me some specifics about. Tell me about a time where you really ran into a hardship, and you had to work through it. What did you learn? And tell us about that experience.
And what I'm saying is that I still have hardships.
Okay.
I have to meet payroll every other week. I have bills that I have to pay. I had internal revenue where I had to come up with 45,000. I had the original company that loaned me the money went out of business, and Fifth Third Bank bought my note, but they didn't want me, and they were trying to close me down. I had to come up
Wow.
with $50,000 at a certain point in time, or they were going to shut me down or put the business up for sale. And I did everything that I knew. I went to, I called an attorney. I thought I was going to have to file bankruptcy. I went to different people and talking with them about what can I do, and looking at everything, looking at my documents. I wasn't behind on my note, hadn't missed a payment, but it was a person, because I talk about God a lot.
Right.
This person, one of the lender, a young white boy, called me and told me what I had to do, and that if I didn't do it, what they could do to me. And I said to him that I'm sure you could do everything that you say you can do, but I have a secret weapon. And I said, and I know you're not familiar with it. It's called Jesus. And I said, so you shoot your best shot at me. And he did.
He shot his best
He
shot.
shot his best shot. He's no longer with that company.
And you still
And
thriving.
I still have the company. And it was up
Right.
to the day before they were going to, because they gave me, like Tuesday when they take me to the auction, going to put it on out for sale.
So you went a long time not with an answer. Like, you did not have an answer for a long time.
As far as how I was going to,
How you gonna come with that money?
up with that money.
Yeah.
And I'm serious. I did. I went out and I did. The last person I went to, I never forget, it was a bankruptcy attorney on Central Expressway. And I took all my documents and my papers into him and showed him. And he told me, well, you need to pay me $35,000 in order for me to work this. I'm saying, if I had $35,000, I'll pay these people off. So I walked out of that office and I said, okay, God, I've done everything I know to do. I don't know what else to do. I'm through. I let go. I went home that night and I had this vision or dream and said, you need to go talk to this person and find out, is there anything you could do? And I thought, okay, I'll do it tomorrow. And my spirit said, no, you need to go today. I went to that person, and it's who I work with my prenatal. And I told him my situation, and he sat there and he turned around and he pulled out this folder and he said, do you know you have $70,000 sitting up in this account? That happened. He said, you have $70,000. I said, are you serious? He said, yes. And what I can do, he said, and if you had not come in here today, I was going to be leaving to go out of town, so you wouldn't have been able to do this. So what I'll do is transfer the money into that account, get me the information, and I'll transfer it, and you can pay me later, but I'll send it over and get all your information. I almost passed out.
That's what I'm saying.
That happened to me. I called my girlfriend. She started crying. I called the attorney. I said, you're not going to believe this. I said, I had the money all the time, and I didn't even know it.
You know what? Let's just stop here, because we all go through stuff. I'm going through some stuff right now.
Okay.
And it's about being quiet, right?
Yes. And following when you're guided to do something.
Yeah.
To follow it.
So this is my dream, right? The Empower series. And I tell people, people think, hey, you're a financial advisor, you're helping, you're doing all this stuff. This is like, I need the Empower series. The Empower series is a reminder to me to have faith, to have hope, right? To get quiet and really believe in the ideas and the visions that I'm given, and that I have all of the resources needed to do it. Like God has provided me with all of the people, everything. It's just my ability to see it, right?
And to be still and quiet enough to hear and follow it. Here's the other thing, you got to follow it. That's what faith is. See, you step out and do things that everybody think is impossible. Anybody who know me, my friend, if you ask them, they'll say, Linda crazy.
Yeah.
She will do, and because I'm not doing what everybody is doing. I believe. And the whole idea in the teaching is believing. That's what Christ taught us, and I'm not here to preach. But you're asking me, how am I doing this? I'm doing this through my faith in God and his promise to me that regardless that I can be in this world, but I don't have to be of this world. That all the material things and everything out here started with what? An idea. Okay?
That's what I'm saying.
An idea.
Ideas
It's all
in action.
up here.
It's a vision, right?
It's
We
a
all
vision.
have.
It's what's that conversation that you're having in your head? That's what's leading you. It's you're telling yourself, I can't. I don't look good. I'm not smart enough. I can't get it done. Nobody would help me, as opposed to through all things, I can do all things through Christ who strengthened me. You know, my affirmation and confirmation are always positive. When I'm not working, my mind is on God. He say, put me first, right? And I'm not a holy person. Please don't anybody believe.
Don't
I'm not holier than that. I'm making mistakes. And I tell people, I say, Jesus came for people like me.
Hey, I'm a work in progress.
I'm a work in progress, but I have enough sense that I understand and I get it. And that if I can quiet my mind, it's your mind. It's what are you telling yourself? What are the thoughts that I'm slow, I'm ugly, I don't look right, I'm fat, I'm too short, I don't speak well, I can't, all those I can't. I can.
Yeah.
I can do all things, not through me. So I don't have a problem sleeping at night. You know why? Because I turn over and I say, okay, God, it's on you. When I wake up in the morning, you can tell me what to do, but I am not trying to figure this out. And that's the truth. I don't. I don't try to figure it out. And I don't know how to get people to see it. And I tell people, and I'm getting a little nervous about it, I say, my head is empty most of the time. I stop those conversations. I don't have them. I quiet myself. And when I'm working, the thought, I allow them to flow through. And what I've learned is that whatever come through, if I go do it, it works. I don't have to come and ask you what should I do. I don't ask anybody what I should do. I get still and I pray. And I say, God, this is the problem. I ask God to provide me the funds that I can pay all my bills on time every month. Guess what? They're all paid on time every month. Ask me at the beginning of the month, do I have it? No. Okay? No, I don't always have it.
For real though.
Okay?
For real.
But by the end of the month,
They get
because
paid.
God can give me things in
position
ways
moving
that
things
I
around.
would never think about.
Yeah.
You know, and I have a little joke with my best friend. I say, I do Negro accounting. Okay?
Okay, I want to know what this is.
In my Negro accounting, excuse me, is that every month I know what I have to pay, and I sit there and I look at it, and I said, okay, God, because I have to know what I need. And that's the whole thing. I know what I need. And every day, everywhere, I say, I need this. And when I put it out there, and then I go do what I need to do. And as it come in, I do what I need to do. I ask God to make me a good stewardess over whatever he give me.
Wow.
Okay?
Wow. You know you preaching, girl. You know you
I'm
preaching,
not trying
right?
to preach, but I'm telling you the truth.
Hey, let me tell you something. The Empower series is everything you just said, right? As I'm thinking about what this organization is and what we do for the community, is I say there's 4 things we're doing all the time, and you're doing this now on the show. Number 1 is give hope, right? Hope that whatever you envision, you can achieve, right? And then inspiration to act on your ideas, because I believe that we're all in this materialistic world, but the most valuable resource we have is our time and our ideas, and we got to be better stewards of our ideas, and we've got to act on them. I feel like I need to write a book called yo, God, was that you talking? Because it's like,
Write it, write it. I'm telling you.
So the hope, the inspiration to act on ideas, education is key. Because like you said, if we are miseducated, if we knew certain things and the resources that are around us, and then connecting with resources, because like you said, there are things moving all around right now. There's resources that people don't know about. There's people, there's organizations, there's things that are going to happen that we don't know. I was stressing. I had 90 people RSVP for our lunch and learn. I kept stressing because I wanted to get a room that was bigger than 30. And I was getting sick. But 30 people came out of the 90. I should not have worried about it, right?
You should have trusted that.
I just should have trusted that the resources was there, the food was there, everything was good. So it's just amazing that resources are around us that's going to help us whether we see it or not. We just got to believe. And everything you're saying, so the key to your success, the key to your business acumen and your ability to manifest the visions that you have in your mind is like Dennis Kimbrough said, Dr. Dennis Kimbrough, he said, if you knew who walked beside you in this thing called life, you would not worry or be fearful of anything.
And then that take me to death. Because what I looked at, and I think most people, they're so afraid to talk about it, but I'm a believer that this cycle called life is we're born, we live, we die. You have to accept that. But if I can accept my death, then it makes me easier to live. And because of my belief, then I live a certain way. That means that according to scripture, that I need to love the Lord thy God with all thy heart, mind, and soul, love my neighbor as thyself. So I have to love you, but I have to first love me. If I can't love me, I can't love you. So that's why we see all these things going on around us. And because of that belief within itself, then I'm not afraid to die because I feel like, who say death is bad? It's all, as far as I was concerned, my friends say I'm crazy. I say, well, you don't have no bills to pay. You don't have
ain't got mess
no credit. You don't have no sickness. Sound pretty good to me. So, my whole, the way that I look at death within itself, I know you miss and we grieve, but who say death is that bad? It's a transition. I believe life is continuous. And if you're supposed to be a Christian, and these what I don't get about church folks, we go to church, we praising Jesus, want to sin, but how you going to sin? You got to die.
Yeah.
He said you worship me in spirit.
Right.
Okay, you have to let the body go. And what I saw when my husband died and I was there in the room, I saw the difference of spirit and body. Because his body was laying there, but the spirit of him was gone. And that's when I really understood.
Yeah.
And I thought then, well, here's this body. I could take it home with me, but it won't be him. It's the spirit that dwells in him. And I looked at it, I say it's like a peanut shell. Peanut, you have the peanut on the inside and the shell. The body is that shell, and who we are is that spirit within that. So that took the fear away from me as far as fear of death. So in not having the fear, then I live differently. I'm not always afraid. And I move out, and because I believe in God, and that's the whole thing. Christ say, these things I do, you can even do greater. But you got to believe. He said, I'm the way sure. If you look and following me. And so I just look at things a whole lot different. So I feel like we all have purpose. Every person on this earth has a purpose. Every person have a story. I don't know why some people are more successful or why some people go through things more so than others, but we're supposed to learn from them. And so I felt like this is my lesson, this is my story, and that I'm okay with telling it. I'm not ashamed of anything that I've done and who I am. So I don't work under the premise of I don't want you to see me.
Right.
So, everything.
Have you always been this way? Like even when you were younger and married?
Well, when I was younger, I was different. Everybody said I was strange. My parents even thought that I was strange. And I always had a belief. I knew it was something greater, but I didn't understand it.
Your husband probably did, though, right?
And I thought he was advanced. He had more insight, I thought, than I did. I felt like he kind of dragged me along, and I wasn't as positive, just like everybody else, struggling through this life and being dyslexic. I was afraid that people would find out my secret and all this. But then what I realized is when I opened up and told the truth about
You weren't the only one,
yeah,
right?
I'm not the only one, and it just freed me. And what I've learned is by telling the truth, you free yourself.
Yeah, just like you told the truth on your application,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, and the things that happen and whatever happens, I feel it's a lesson. So I always ask God to teach me, to show me the lesson, show me what it is I need to know. And I believe that this is a personal relationship. I talk so much about it that it's like this person is here with me that I'm trusting. And I've had so many demonstrations that just makes my faith and my belief stronger. So when I look at young people, and I love kids because they're so honest, I started a program where I've told kids, if you bring me your report cards and for every A you make, I give you $10. They didn't believe me, but I had a couple of them who did. So I had a couple of young men, and they were Browns and every one $100 every 6 weeks. And he was determined.
A student, right?
A student. I said, okay, and I'll go to school. And I said, but nobody challenged me on it. But one, he's a lawyer now, doing extremely well. And and they come from bad situations. So my thing with young people is that they need hope. They need somebody to stand there for them and say, I believe in you. And that's what I think that we all need it, but especially with our kids. And I see young black men struggling, and the question is, what are they hearing and what are they seeing? They don't have what I had growing up. The environment, our communities have changed. I grew up in the projects. West Tampa project, okay.
Yeah, South Central LA here,
Okay.
baby, right?
So, but it wasn't until I went to the University of South Florida that they told me I was from the ghetto.
Yeah.
Well, I never heard the term ghetto to that. Well, that's a mentality, because when I grew up, everybody, it was like our homes. We had mothers, fathers, everybody.
You had a
kept their
support
lawn,
system.
you had
It
a
was
support
love. You
system,
was watched.
You had your
You can
teachers.
walk around the block.
Leave your door open.
I'm telling
no
you,
problem.
you don't do that now with
Right,
kids.
Right. I didn't know we were poor, but folks, when I went to the university, the white school, that's when I found out I was
Same here.
poor, ghetto.
I didn't find out. I kind of knew I was. It's kind of weird, but I went to the University of Washington.
Okay.
From Los Angeles, right? Hyde Park District, Crenshaw and Florence. And so when I went to college, I went to University of Washington, big cafeteria. I looked around the room, didn't see hardly anyone of my color.
Right.
And I was like, boy, my boys can see me now.
Right.
And when I went back home, they could tell that I was a little bit different. The way I talked was different. They said I had that Seattle slang.
Right.
Like I wasn't talking the same.
Exposure, and that's what we need. And I think I'm grateful that I've been blessed to have the experiences that I've had. And I think with all of us, if we could just look at everything that we've gone through and say, what's my lesson? What can I learn from this?
Everything is a lesson, right?
Everything is a lesson.
And I think it's all good, even if it's bad.
Yeah, and
even if it's not what we want, right?
So as I move through in my journey, I don't know how much more time I have, but I feel my mission, and I wrote this down in 1982, that one of my missions was to save the black funeral industry. And the reason for that was that I saw and I could see what's happening, and it's coming to pass right now, that as a race we have a tendency, and what we have done through segregation, it made us support each other because we were not allowed. So
we had a captive market supported us, right?
Right. We had the stores, we had the schools. That was the purpose of the black schools, insurance companies. It was because even the funeral industry. But as you look around, you see that we're losing most of the organizations of the business that we had at one time. We've walked away from them. And I understand wanting to have equal opportunity. I understand that but I think that we also have to be conscious of how we spend our monies.
But okay, let's talk about that, because part of the issue with desegregation is that we had a captive audience of our people supporting Black-owned businesses. Now that other businesses that are non-Black can take our money, right, and service us, we have a perception that sometimes that's a better. We want to go better service,
The
right?
ice is colder.
That's one thing. But then when you look at the business owner right now, if we as Black business owners are struggling, and we think one of the reasons we're struggling is because we're losing the Black customer, I would say, are we thinking globally enough? Maybe what we need to do is think of how do we market to a global market, as opposed to just trying to get our people back. And what do you think about that?
I think you're right in how do we do it? I don't know.
Yeah.
Because it comes back to capital, okay? It's
God can do all things.
You got to do all things.
God can
and
do
he
all
can do
things,
all
right?
things. And I guess with me in this industry, I'm in a specific industry, which is the funeral business.
Right.
And this might sound bad, what I'm getting ready to say, but when you look at the funeral business, and I'm going to ask you a question. Can you imagine a white minister in a Black funeral home, letting a Black funeral home handle his funeral?
So in this society today, it's a rarity. But you can imagine the opposite.
But you can imagine.
You can imagine the opposite, and it's not just with Blacks.
It's
I would say with Hispanics, with probably any people of color, right, or any culture, even.
They call us.
So here's what I would say then. Here's the challenge. The challenge is this, and I'll put it this way. You know who Robert Smith is? Robert Smith, the billionaire in Austin.
Yeah.
So he built his own private equity firm. There's not many Black people as successful as he is, and there's probably some deals that if they knew that he was a Black man, he probably wouldn't get. And he probably has his own hardships. Are you seeing?
Yes.
But I would tell you, I saw a video of him once where he talked about how when he went to different countries, he never talked to the top guy. He always talked to the staffers, and he couldn't understand why, because he had the best returns, he had the best product, but he couldn't get in. So he went to a consultant, and the consultant told him that he had to change something, and he did the change. And now he's talking to the top people in different countries. The reason I say that is that I think when you look at any industry, whether it's the Black funeral home, I don't know the industry or whatever it is, I would say that there's always an idea. There's always a vision that can be manifested. And if the vision is, if a white funeral home can service all nationalities, any funeral home of color can do all nationalities. The question is how. So not to say that there aren't barriers and challenges, but to believe in a vision and believe that God can do all things that's possible, then the question is, how do you build a global funeral home that transcends color, transcends culture?
Right. And I don't want to give the impression that there aren't any. There are.
Are there?
Okay.
Yeah,
I believe that there are. Yeah, because I'm not in Dallas that I know of. But,
Okay.
And I don't want to say that because I know that there are funeral homes here that are very in, different races. I don't want to give that, but I'm just saying to the masses.
And we need to save ours though too.
Yeah, but
So
that's
do you know how we're going to save it?
Education. And I guess that's where I'm at, is that not to put anybody down and not to say that it can't happen, but I need for us to be conscious
of the
of
challenge.
the challenge. And then when you look at it, and I know at this day and time, people are looking for convenience. People in the north don't necessarily want to drive all the way
But you
south.
just expanded to the north, didn't you?
I did. I'm open working with my church, but I'm not in operation right now.
Okay.
I had a little problem with that, so I'm not operating my North Dallas chapel.
But you still got vision. So this is your stretch, right?
Right.
So you still got visions of growth.
Yes, and to move north and to be in that market, to be more multicultural. It could be that because I'm in Oak Cliff, the southern sector, and the population is all Black on this side, that has a lot to do with it.
So do you feel like you have a solution to this vision that you see, or are you still waiting for the inspiration of the vision from God for that?
Well, I do, as far as in saving the market itself. Yeah. I've been able, and I'm working right now in organizing all the independent Black funeral home owners to come together. and form an organization where we specifically work with the churches and the ministers and educate now the congregation as well to say, okay, we just need you for you to be aware that we are here. We do provide the service, and when you hopefully, death will occur, but when death occurs, that you would consider us.
So do you have the organization? Is the organization
We
exist?
started it.
So tell us about the organization. All of a sudden we're running out of time. But tell us about the organization real
It's,
quick. How do they get in touch with you?
Dallas Funeral Homeowners Coalition. We just formed this last year, and we're in the process. We're in the process of developing a website. We don't have it set up yet, so I'm in the phase of the process of getting this
So
organization started.
do you have social media accounts?
As far as with
this
the
organization,
we're
this
in the,
coalition?
yeah, we're in the process of establishing all that. Our
Okay.
website,
Do
Facebook.
you have a domain name yet?
Yes. It's
So you got a
Black-
domain name, right?
Yes.
So I would tell you, one of the things I've learned from one of these business courses is that a website might take time, but a Facebook account is free, right? So you can go ahead and set up the Facebook social media accounts and then have your domain name redirected to your social media accounts until you get your website up.
Okay.
Because that way people become used to your domain
Right,
name and they'll go to some online basis of who you are, your Facebook page. And then when you get your domain, your website built, then you just redirect it to the website, but people have already remembered your domain name.
See, I just learned something.
I know, I'm just sharing the knowledge, and everybody knows, right? But
Yeah,
so if
thank
someone
you.
wants to get in touch with you, and just like they listen to this and they don't want to reach out to you, how do they get in touch with you?
Well, they can reach me at Black and Clark Funeral Home, and
Okay.
the telephone number there is 214-376-8297, or you can go to our website, which is blackandclark.com.
All right, so website, phone number,
We're on Facebook.
Google you.
Yeah.
Just drop in, knock on your door. What's
Yeah.
up, girlfriend?
Yeah,
Right?
yeah, just give me a call, I'm just here.
So look, do you know our time is up?
No?
And
Is it?
it's not, because we're going to continue. We just want to continue on live, right?
Okay, okay.
But oh my gosh, Miss Linda Mitchell, were you blessed today? I think you were. I'm talking to the camera.
Oh, okay.
So thank you so much.
Thank you.
For spending your time. And I would tell people all the time, like Dennis Kimbrough said, that we don't know how much time we have, and we don't want to know. But the entrepreneurial question is, how much time? What are you going to do with the rest of the time that you have
Yeah,
left?
exactly.
So I want to thank you for spending your time with me. I want to thank you for spending your time with us, because we would never get this back. But we've gotten ideas, we've gotten inspiration and hope, and I would say let's put those ideas into action. Okay? So thank you again. Thank you all for watching. I would say don't forget about our program tomorrow. If you can't come to it, subscribe to this YouTube channel, because we record all of our programs and we upload them. We give you content of inspiration, hope, education. Also, I would say go to our website, www.empowerseries.com. Look on the RSVP button to figure out what's going on next month. Tell us about how we're impacting your life. Give us your feedback if you want to donate, because none of this is free, right? But we are not going to charge anybody for attending and being a part of our Empower Series programs, but we can't put them on without your donations. So go to our website, click on donate, or text give or donate to 214-225-6337. And once again, thank you, Comerica Bank, for your generous donation. Thank you, AE Media Group, and thank you for giving us your time, talents, and treasures. So until we meet again, be empowered and inspired to thrive. God bless you. God bless you.